Hi everyone, my name's Emma Cole. I'm a PWP Coordinator working at Talking Therapies. I've been here for nearly 7 years now, and I'm really here today just to tell you a little bit more about the PWP role, what it involves, what IAPT is, and if you're interested in being a PWP, what you might need to do to achieve that. So I want to start by looking at what IAPT is. So Talking Therapies is an IAPT service. IAPT is a primary care service. There are multiple IAPT services up and down the country. Normally, they tend to run in counties. So, for example, Talking Therapies covers Berkshire, and we've got neighbouring IAPT services that cover the neighbouring counties. So as a primary care service, we accept referrals from patients and clients themselves, so individuals referring to us asking for support, from GPs and also from secondary care. We follow a stepped care model quite closely. So as an IAPT service, all IAPT services work across step 2 and step 3 on that table. So we provide evidence-based treatment to adults in line with NICE guidance. So adults is anyone above the age of 17 and a half. And it really is everyone from that age up. So we work closely with people at step 3, so those high intensity CBT therapists and counsellors. But as a PWP, you'll be working at step 2. So what is involved in the PWP role? So as a PWP, we see mild to moderate depression and anxiety. So that includes things like stress, generalized anxiety disorder, OCD, health anxiety, phobias, social anxiety. And to support people with those difficulties, we provide low intensity CBT. So those kind of interventions include things like behavioural activation, cognitive restructuring, problem solving, graded exposure, and they are there directly through the evidence base through NICE guidelines to support those clients with mild to moderate depression and anxiety. We also provide initial assessment. So these assessments ensure we are providing the right support for the right patient. So they determine the suitability for primary care for step 2 versus step 3, but also for secondary care. So through our assessments, we may well come across people who are presenting with more of a complex presentation than just the mild to moderate depression and anxiety. One of the most important parts of our role is assessing a patient's safety. So their safety is paramount. We have lots of support within the service to ensure you're not sat with that, you're not holding someone's safety solely in your hands. It's a team effort. But we will assess their safety at every single session that we have with them for every single patient. So that's a huge part of our role, as I'm sure you're aware. We also will signpost out to other services. So working with other services is really important to make sure that our clients, our patients, are getting the most appropriate support and care for them. So that might be that we signpost to drug and alcohol services or a domestic abuse service or befriending, or it might be that actually at the moment their best support for them is support for their housing. So we really do work closely with other professionals, other services, but also including GPs, safeguarding team, social services, secondary care. We are really committed to making sure that our patients get the best support they can. So that joined up working is so important. One thing that is important to note is that the PWP role is high volume and fast paced. So we see a lot of patients and we work back to back. We have our longest appointment is about 40 minutes with the patient. Most of them are about 30. So we see a lot of patients in a day, as I'm sure you can imagine. We have fairly high caseloads, so you'd have a caseload of your own that you'd be working through. We also work with patients with long-term conditions. So before the pandemic, that was things like diabetes, pain, COPD. Post the pandemic, The key long-term condition, or one of the most prominent ones at the moment, is long COVID. So that link between physical health and mental health is just so important. So it's a really big role that we play as a PWP. I want to talk to you a little bit about what the day in the life of a PWP would look like. So as I mentioned, you'd be doing assessments. You would be doing guided self-help sessions. So this is where we use the low intensity CBT. And we're sharing our tools and our knowledge with our patients in order for them to become their own therapist, so that once they've finished working with us, they'll have their own toolkit they can use. We offer online or telephone computerized CBT, where they can access an online program on their phone, tablet, computer. We offer groups such as one for depression, one for anxiety, that you'd be facilitating. We offer supervision, or you would be having supervision, so case management supervision. That would be every single week that you'd be doing those things. On a regular basis, but maybe not quite weekly, you would also have a regular training. You would be meeting with secondary care to make sure your patients are suitable, just to have that discussion between suitability. You'd have further supervision. You would be calling other professionals, and there's also reflector space that would be happening monthly. So what happens in the training year? So if you were successful in getting a trainee PWP job, you'd be working towards your postgraduate or graduate certificate in evidence-based psychological treatments via the IAPT pathway. So this would mean that you are working towards or working with the service for 1 to 2 days a week, building your caseload, doing all those things I've just talked about on the previous slide, whilst having 1 to 2 days a week at university, whether that's at the university in person and having a teaching day, or it might be a study day. So it's kind of part-time work whilst you're at university. When the university closes for the holiday, you would then be in service full-time. So you're fully employed by the NHS or by your IAPT service with a full paid salary. So you're studying and working at the same time. Just to say that you would be able to have either an undergraduate degree, or we are looking at accepting kind of a non-graduate route as well. So postgraduate route is if you've already got a degree, but if you haven't got a degree, we are also looking at that option, so that people can still become PWPs. So just a little bit about my journey. So I did my A-levels in 2009. I then went to university and I did a 4-year course. So that included a year out. So my 3rd year, I was working in a CAM service, so for children and adolescent mental health. Finished that, finished my degree in 2013. Then I went travelling, and whilst I was travelling, I volunteered in Sri Lanka in a mental health setting, just to kind of get that other perspective. I then got a job as an admin in our common point of entry team. So that's the gateway to secondary care. So I was processing referrals, taking calls to clients. And then I started in talking therapies in 2015 as an assistant PWP. That role doesn't exist now. It would just go straight to trainee PWP. And then I moved to qualified, and then I became a team lead, and lastly a coordinator. So I hope that really shows that the PWP role can have its career in itself. So the chances of progressing within PWP world is high. There's always vacancies. It's an ever-changing role and kind of team. But also the other option is a lot of PWPs take the route onto high-intensity CBT. So you can apply for that after having 2 years as a qualified PWP. So if you're still interested in the PWP career, what do you need to do in order to apply for a trainee PWP position? So the key thing here is that you need to have 12 months experience working in the community with people who have mental health conditions. So that might be as part of mental health service or team, as a support worker, admin, employment advisor, or wellbeing support. It might be that you offer groups. But you can also be an assistant psych, whether that's paid or unpaid. You might work in a care home or a school, a drug and alcohol service. If it's not specifically linked to mental health, but you still feel like it's relevant and you've had that experience, make sure that you state in your application how that experience is relevant. We've got colleagues who have been teachers, who've worked in drug and alcohol services, who have been midwives before, and that was their experience before coming on to us. You just need to be really explicit. If you have any further information or need any further information, here are some links to other websites that can give you some extra information if I haven't covered everything so far. And that's everything. I hope you found that really helpful, and hope that everything goes well with your future career plans. Okay, thanks.